here it is. I finally finished reviewing each and every of the Skywalker Saga films as well as the anthology films. So, now it's time to rank them from worst to best. And this will include Rogue One and Solo. If you're just here for all 9, that will be at the end of the video. So, here we go. Coming up in last place, I have the Clone Wars movie. Now, this movie didn't exactly have any character. You can tell it was 4 episodes of a show crammed into one. It was sadly a bunch of spectacle for spectacle's sake and some heartless actions. A lot of things are rushed and didn't exactly have time to explore. There wasn't exactly much character or emotion at all in this movie, and the pacing just kind of, the plot itself is very predictable and wasn't that great. There was also an inconsistency between the drama and the comedy. Second last place, or 11th place, we have Attack of the Clones. Now, as many of you know if you've seen my reviews for Attack of the Clones and The Phantom Menace, I've been debating for quite a while which one I like better or worse, Attack of the Clones or The Phantom Menace. Both trade out different flaws, and they bring out their own flaws. But I think I like Attack of the Clone Wars because the thing that it was trying to do, which set up the whole prequel trilogy of the romance, it just kind of didn't exactly work. The acting was not exactly the greatest, as well as the dialogue or the line delivery. The pacing kind of just stalled in the middle actor's little sense of urgency. The CGI was very noticeable. There was little character at all. And there was like a want but not a need, so you sadly at some of these emotional parts you sadly didn't exactly feel them the most of anything. Some of the chemistry and what the movie was set out to do, it didn't exactly work. In 10th place, I have The Phantom Menace. This movie really disappointed me, sadly. Probably a teeny bit better from Attack of the Clones because there's literally not a scene that I can be like, time to watch that scene from Attack of the Clones. In The Phantom Menace, there's a lightsaber fight. It's just that here you have literally no character development at all. Little character interaction that's really that great. The pacing could kind of stall. Some of the characters I wasn't the biggest fan, as well as the dialogue or the acting. And I didn't feel like we could feel the most sympathy for Anakin. I didn't feel like it progressed the plot the most. Or that's probably one of the big problems that I have with the prequel trilogy is that Lucas spent so much time with the romance that he spent so little time on Anakin that's true turn, which is very disappointing. Now in 9th place, I have The Rise of Skywalker. This movie also sadly disappointed me. It just didn't exactly work the trilogy as a whole. The amount of exposition and pacing that was taking because the whole plot could at times be a retcon was kind of and a lot of the emotional scenes or impactful things that happened I feel like didn't have enough lead up, especially the kiss at the end. I don't think there was enough lead up to that or Ben's turn. The plot itself wasn't that great. It was very convoluted, sadly, and it was like a fetch quest. There were definitely a lot of plot conveniences, and a lot of characters didn't exactly get to present their ideas, the pace. A lot of characters are kind of sidelined, especially Finn. Sadly, the only thing that they went with Finn in this movie was he wants to tell something very important to Rey. I wasn't the biggest fan of that. At times it could feel like this whole sequel trilogy as a whole didn't exactly work. As I said earlier, it could be like a fetch quest, like you have to get this, you have to get that, but to get that, you have to get that. And so the problem, and also there are a bunch of side quests which could make the movie feel even more generic. There's a bit more character in this movie, but there is actually some of the answers to questions were just so rushed that they didn't exactly have enough time to present their ideas. So I wasn't the biggest fan of that. In 8th place, we have Solo: A Star Wars Story. Now, this movie also severely disappointed me. The characters were very bland. Nothing exactly in this movie exactly really deepened the characters at all. And the plot itself was predictable because there wasn't anything new. It was basically Han Solo meeting Chewie, meeting Lando, getting the Falcon. It wasn't exactly anything new that could deepen the character of Han. It just feels like a product, sadly. In 7th place, I have Revenge of the Sith. What Revenge of the Sith I felt needed to work on, or its main goal of Revenge of the Sith, sadly, was very fast-paced. The middle actor didn't feel like have has an arc. Same problem with most of the prequels. The acting, I wasn't the biggest fan of, as well as the pacing was also very messy because the other two prequels sadly weren't that great and that were trying to set up the big finale. Most of what were happening here in setup, so here they have to wrap up so many stuff, and it's really hard to change the character interaction between some of these characters. Once some of the villains also weren't that intimidating, especially the character of Grievous. Sadly, I did not enjoy this movie as much as I thought I would. In 6th place, we have Return of the Jedi. I know that, remember, this is just my opinion. I just find that in Return of the Jedi we missed a vital part of Luke's character arc, especially since at the end of Empire, he was at his lowest point. He was at a high point. I just feel like we missed something. As well as the plot in general wasn't exactly the most original. Who the Emperor was. Also, the pacing I wasn't the biggest fan of. The first act and the movie just kind of delayed and stalled quite a bit. And some of the emotional scenes weren't exactly explored for the most amount of time to make it impactful, which was very unfortunate in my opinion. In number 5, we have Rogue One. This movie also disappointed me. They didn't exactly explore the characters much. There wasn't exactly much backstory. The character of Jyn Erso, I found that a vital piece of her arc was also missing, because when she was at her lowest point, her mom just died, then we got to see her so powerful. It just feels like we missed something. Also, this first few acts could feel a bit choppy, since we just went planet to planet and we had to dig in and breathe in all sorts of information that was just thrown at us. I wasn't the biggest fan of that. Sadly, that movie also severely disappointed me. In 4th place, we have The Force Awakens. I like this movie. I don't love it. It has some pretty good VFX. It has I like some of the characters and some of the character interaction, as well as the characters were very compelling. The acting was pretty good, and it really set the stage for what was happening, but there definitely were some plot conveniences. It could feel pretty similar to A New Hope, and it felt like the final act didn't exactly have a clear focus, because they're like trying to blow up Starkiller Base, but the whole plot was about finding Luke, so it could feel a bit generic. Yes, Starkiller Base as a whole, I just felt like I wasn't the biggest fan of Starkiller Base, partially because it was very similar to A New Hope, also because Poe was the one that destroyed Starkiller Base, and Poe didn't exactly have an arc, didn't exactly have a want or need, and wasn't exactly the most cohesive character. Sure, Poe was likable, but it just feels like it's like if Wedge destroyed the first Death Star. He didn't exactly have the most lead up to this decision, so that could muddle basically the whole threat of this movie, which was very disappointing. And in 3rd place, I have The Last Jedi. I know a lot of people would be like, what? I know this movie is very controversial, but this movie had really compelling characters, in my opinion. Yeah, the VFX was stunning, the cinematography was fantastic. It really, I think, deepened our characters a lot and set up in a way for episode 9 that was really great. Sure, some decisions in this movie I don't exactly feel were the best for episode 9, but just as a plot wise, but character wise, they were great. Definitely some sequences I wasn't the biggest fan of, like the Canto Bight sequence. I just find that this had some really compelling characters, a great plot that was about survival. And our runner-up is A New Hope. This movie was great. It really set the tone. It had great characters, pretty good acting, as well as some really great world building and really iconic ships and vehicles, and had some really great characters and a clear want and need that you could care for. And that's what I love about this movie. But in 1st place, drumroll please, Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. This is one of my favorite, if not my favorite movie of all time. And my favorite Star Wars movie of all time. It has great characters. It deepens the mythology so well, explores something new, and it kind of finishes and continues the arc of what was left in A New Hope very well, and it deepened the understanding of this. The pacing in this movie was almost perfect. and it was really emotional, and these characters had clear wants and needs, and it really continued everything so well. I absolutely love this movie. Now, I said that I'll give you just my ranking of the Skywalker Saga film, so here we go. Number 9, we have the Attack of the Clones. Number 8, we have The Phantom Menace. Number 7, we have The Rise of Skywalker. Number 6, we have Revenge of the Sith. Number 5, we have Return of the Jedi. Number 4, we have The Force Awakens. Number 3, we have The Last Jedi. Number 2, we have A New Hope. And number 1, we have The Empire Strikes Back. Thanks.